Hey guys, it's Lee with Untapped Potential. Once again, we're going to be doing a daily quest today. I've fallen a little behind. I've been recording a bunch of tutorial videos for a group of starter deck listings I've posted to my website, and those should all hopefully be up on YouTube by Friday. But in the meantime, in order to have some content for y'all till then, let's go ahead and do a quick archetypal 2 wins with green-white or red-green. Between those two, with the cards I have at hand, I like my red-green better, so let's go ahead and start there. Once again, the deck wizard bug is still in effect, so we need to use that in order to get credit. So let's start by creating a new deck using the deck wizard. Green-white is made powerful by the renowned creatures, so hopefully we will get some of those in our pool. But otherwise, it still works just by using good creatures that can attack quickly and end the game using powerful combat tricks to blow out our opponent. So to start with, the deck wants us to pull a bunch of aggressive creatures. Well, in green-white, Sunblade Elf is absolutely spectacular. We're going to jam in 3 copies right from the get-go. Similarly, our Citadel Castellan makes the cut. Furthermore, Knight of the Pilgrim's Road is a solid renowned creature, and Knight of the White Orchid, which I'm lucky enough to have 2 of, is an otherwise excellent early beater capable of grabbing us some extra mana and has first strike. Valoran Wardens is going to make the cut, mostly it's because we hope we then get more renowned creatures later. And finally, of the last stuff on this list, we're going to go ahead and grab Herald of the Pantheon with the hope that we get some enchantments later to make our creatures even more powerful. The combat tricks here are important, and we have to choose 8 of them. I'm going to go ahead and grab as many wild size as the deck will let me run, because it gives a creature +2/+2, which is excellent. It also gives them trample, but most importantly, it draws us a card afterwards, meaning we keep our size of our hand up, and possibly draw into another wild size. Finally, since we're also going pretty wide in this deck with a bunch of creatures, Chorus of Might is good. While Might of the Masses does the same thing for regularly cheaper, it doesn't unfortunately give trample. But in this case, we are going to use one of them just because it's so much cheaper. Finally now, we round out our deck. Kytheon's Irregulars is a solid pick, as is Grasp of the Harrowmancer, which is great for tapping down our opponent's creatures and getting in for more damage with ours. Primal Hunt Beast is a 4 mana for a 3/3 with hexproof, making it tricky for our opponent to deal with as they can't target it with their spells or abilities. Finally, Kinsdale Skirmisher allows us to punch through for some extra damage on the turns where we need it. It also keeps our mana curve down, and since white is our primary color here, it's what we want to focus on. Elite Vanguard is another fast, early attacker, but we're actually going to go with the Timberland Guides here, as once again, a +1/+1 counter on a big creature later in the game is a bit more backbreaking than a 2/1, which may be outclassed by then. Nimbus Wings is also something we want as far as enchantments go, as it gives our creature extra power and toughness, but also flying, allowing us to get in for an extra point of damage here or there, or to close out a close game. Finally, we're going to grab some colorless in the form of 2 Perilous Mirrors in order to take advantage of their ability that when they die, they deal 2 damage, which can be used to close out a game against a stalled board. Finally, a final Nimbus Wings, and we've basically got ourselves a deck. Our lands are pretty self-explanatory. There's nothing particularly special here, although I do think it should be a few fewer forests and a few more plains, but hopefully that won't come up to bother us too much as we play. Alright guys, let's get some games going. So this is actually game number 3. We lost our first 2 because of mana screw both times. I'm not including them in this video because it was me sitting there looking at a hand that I couldn't cast even after several mulligans. My opponents weren't doing anything particularly interesting either. They were just playing cards and beating me with them. So I'm not including them here as to not waste your time. But this time, we have a much better hand. We open With our elf, we put a plains down to make him even bigger, Sunblade Elf, we use a Kinsblade on him to make him even stronger, and we're attacking in. This deck is basically green-white weenies, so we are attacking for all we can, as fast as we can, before our opponent has a chance to drop something big like a Rock Smaller. He finds Nissa, letting him search his library for a forest, and we need to address Nissa before she gets too much bigger. It was Nissa, which ultimately ended up killing us back in the first game. We go ahead and attack here, offering a trade with the Kinsblade, but our opponent's in no hurry to take it, but it does still put him down to 12 life, meaning that he's on a very short clock. He also brings out a Yavis Force Mage, giving target creature +2/+2 till end of turn. He doesn't end up doing anything with it though, and it goes away at the end of his turn. We're continuing to draw a lot of lands here, but we can use as many as 5 in order to use our Elven Sunblade's ability. Grasp of the Harrowmancer goes onto our Kinsblade here, and we use it to tap down his Force Mage, hoping that he'll try to do a trade or a block with Nissa. He does, but he has a combat trick. Unfortunately for him, so do we. We get +3/+3, 1 for each creature we control, which is more than enough than the +3/+1 he got. So Nissa's off the field, and we no longer have to worry about that. A Thopter Foundry comes down, and with it powers out a Rock Smaulers, which, while that card is a big beefy defender, it's not something we have to be terribly worried about this turn, as our Kinsblade can tap it down thanks to the Grasp of the Harrowmancer we put on it earlier. We also use our Elf's Pump ability real quick in order to sneak through for as much extra damage as we can this turn. Our opponent drops down to 5 life after taking 4 damage. Yet another Rock Smaulers comes down here. I've seen back-to-back Rock Smaulers a couple times in games lately, and it's completely backbreaking. Unfortunately for our opponent, though, he's at 5 life, we get to tap down one of his Maulers, and otherwise with the team, we get to just swing wide and get around the one he uses to block. So we get through with enough damage this turn to go ahead and kill our opponent, giving us victory number 1 in today's daily. So we immediately just go straight ahead, continue through the loading screens, and gear up for game number 2. We're going to hope to finish this one fast as well, mostly because I really need to be getting to work. So this hand we keep isn't most exciting. It has several 1-drops, but it doesn't have the plains to really make them more powerful. The key decision here, though, is the fact that our opponent had to mulligan to 5, meaning we are in a position to punish them very much if they kept a bad hand. And if you're at 5, it either means that you have a bunch of lands and nothing to use with them, or you have the opposite problem of having a bunch of things and no lands. Our opponent did use an Evolving Wilds, however, to guarantee that they get the colors they needed. We play our second elf and our tap land in order to get in for some damage. Our theory that our opponent doesn't have lands seems to be correct, as they whiff this turn, allowing us to keep getting in. We go ahead and just start putting auras onto our creatures to make them more powerful, as we are continuing to beat on the ground in order, and now in the air as well, to prevent our opponent from having time to stabilize. They miss yet another turn of land, allowing us another attack, and we use Wild Size here to pump through some extra damage and to draw another card for ourselves. The opponent finally finds land number 3, but it's another Evolving Wilds, which allows them to get their second color, but it enters tapped, so they're in no position to capitalize on it this turn. Yet another aura, this time a Grasp of the Harrowmancer, goes onto our second elf, and we attack. I also click a little too early, but then I use a combat trick in order to force through 2 more damage, reducing our opponent down to 5 life by turn 4. Our opponent finally finds their 4th land and 3rd color, powering out their first creature of the game. But unfortunately for them at this point, we have Grasp of the Harrowmancer to tap it down, meaning it can't block, and the Wild Size we drew this turn lets us push through enough damage to score an easy win here in game number 2. And with that, our daily is complete. And finally, with the gold from our daily, we have enough to go to the store and buy ourselves 1 booster pack. So let's do that real quick before we wrap up for the day. Ooh, we got another green rare. We've been on a kick of those. But our first card is Celestial Flare. It's okay. It's a good card, but it's not the most amazing thing ever because your opponent is the one who gets to make the choice. Now, if there's only 1 creature attacking or blocking, the choice is made for them. But ultimately, target player sacrifices an attacking or blocking creature for 2 mana is a very cheap form of removal that white decks will love. Separatist Void Mage. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target creature to its owner's hand. This is an excellent tempo play, really good in the late game where you just need to get the opponent's defending creature out of the way so you can get in for your final hit. and in some sort of blue-black or blue-white tempo control deck, this card does everything you want it to. Unholy Hunger for 5 mana at instant speed destroys target creature with the added bonus of Spell Mastery. If there are 2 or more instant and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, you gain 2 life. It's like Flesh to Dust with a little bit of upside. Nothing wrong with that. Our first uncommon is the Gearfur Aether Grid, which is an enchantment that allows us to tap 2 untapped artifacts we control to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. I don't know, guys. You'd have to be in a very dedicated artifact deck to do this, and tapping 2 guys to do a single damage. Sure, it's nice to do at the end of your opponent's turn right before you untap to squeeze in some extra damage, but I'm just not quite sure it's worth the inclusion in the deck, as it takes up valuable space that other better cards could be using. We'll try it in the future, but I don't have high hopes. We got another 5 mana instant speed removal spell. This one destroys target non-zombie creature, which isn't always relevant, but will be sometime. The creature cannot be regenerated, which again, there's not a lot of regeneration in this set, but when Undercity Troll's around, you're going to be glad you have it. Finally, you can then return up to 1 target zombie card from your graveyard to your hand. Now, if you're in the deck that has zombies, you will enjoy this. Finally, Gaia's Revenge, which actually the opponent used against me in one of the early matches that I did not record today because I was stuck on 2 mana. He had 7. Gaia's Revenge cannot be countered, it has haste, and when Gaia's Revenge cannot be the target of non-green spells or abilities from non-green sources. So, nope, you're not attacking it with your mirror damage, you're not using burn spells. This thing will continue to hit and hit hard. Thank God it doesn't have trample. And also, 8 power and 5 toughness. That's worth paying attention to also. This thing hurts, guys. Anyway, this has been our pack for the day. We have completed our daily. This has been Lee with Untapped Potential. Like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.